90410. This is the molybdenum mesotyl tricarbonyl lab. So we're going to start here with 2 grams of molybdenum hexacarbonyl that I've got here on the balance. And we'll add that here to our flask. First we can drop in our stir bar, funnel here. Molybdenum carbonyl in. We can add our condenser, which we need to grease. Our gas inlet. And a stopper. Also our nitrogen here, and attach our bubbler at the top so that we can begin the nitrogen flow. Get a view of that up high here. There's our condenser is quite tall, so our bubbler's here. I'll get that hose tacked up out of the way. I need to get some rubber bands as well to secure our various pieces of glassware. So now I have our glassware, our apparatus here all secured with rubber bands, and nitrogen is flowing. You can see here nitrogen coming out of the bubbler, which is connected to the top of our apparatus here. So they'll need to degas like this for about 10 minutes, and then we'll be ready to move on to the next step. Before that, I'm going to get the heating mantle that we need for the heating part of this reaction, and I'll get that and assemble it underneath the flask while we wait. So to heat this reaction, we're going to use a variac attached to a heating mantle. There'll be a supplementary video on how to heat with these. This flask is slightly undersized for this heating mantle, so we're going to put some sand here in the heating mantle, which will also help with getting a uniform heating. And we need to use the heating mantle to achieve the temperatures we need to boil the mesitylene that we'll be adding. So just plug in our variac here to our power source. It has an on-off switch, which we'll leave off for now. This jar here contains sand. Raise our mantle up to the flask. Before we do that though, let's kind of make a bit of a dish for our flask to sit in. Yeah, we need a bit more sand. Should actually be enough. We're not going to have very much solution in here. As long as the sand is above the level of our solution we're heating, that should be more than sufficient. So this needs to degas for another few minutes, or purge with nitrogen for another few minutes, and we'll be ready to add the mesitylene and begin heating. So it's been 10 minutes, so we're ready to add the mesitylene to our reaction. So I've poured and mesitylene is also known as 1,3,5-trimethylbenzene. And I poured a little bit of that into this beaker here. I've also got a glass syringe with a big needle on it that I can use to pull some of it up. We need to degas the mesitylene, so I'm going to first get our 10 milliliters in our syringe. There's our 10 milliliters. So now we need to insert the needle into the septum at the top. And you're not going to be able to see this right now, but I'll show you in a second. Right. So we've got the needle up here, and I'm holding onto the syringe. So make sure you keep a hold of the plunger. I'm going to now remove the bubbler. This should let us bubble the nitrogen into the mesitylene. Which it is doing. It just takes a bit of it. Yeah, I have to kind of release the pressure on the plunger as I go. So let that bubble for a few more minutes, and then I'll be able to add it to our flask and replace the bubbler. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the bubbler and add the mesitylene. Stirring. Mesitylene has a high boiling point, and we need to bring those up to a moderate boil for the procedure. So I've had this heating mantle preheating just slightly. I've had it at 20%, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it up to 60%. Begin the heating. We're also not going to run water through this condenser. Some of the mesitylene or the molybdenum hexacarbonyl, as it heats, will sublime and then re-solidify up here in the condenser, and we want to make sure that we can get mesitylene vapor up there to condense and then wash that extra molybdenum carbonyl back into our reaction flask. So, and now that that's running, we can actually shut off our nitrogen, turn off our stopcock here, and we'll let this heat, and then I'll bring you back once we've achieved a boil, and then we'll heat for 30 minutes. So we're starting to get boiling here. You can see we've got liquid condensing on the outside of our flask here, so we're getting close to the proper temperature. I think some of that is actually also the molybdenum carbonyl, because some of it looks like little crystals forming, so that's going to be sublimed molybdenum carbonyl. So I'll heat this up, turn this up just a little bit more, and bring you back in if anything interesting happens over the next half hour as we reflux this. So we're starting to get more of the mesitylene boiling and condensing up higher in the flask. So I think this heating level is pretty close. I'm about 75% on the variac. See that right here. I think I'll turn it up to 80 and then let it go for the half an hour. So I'll set this camera up now. So we finished our heating time. So I'm going to lower the variac, or turned off the variac. So I'm going to lower the sand bath here. And then I'm also going to turn on our nitrogen, which I've got running, and flow nitrogen through this so that as this cools, it doesn't suck more air into our system. All right, so once that's cooled, I'll bring us back and we'll be ready to do the first steps of isolating our solid. So our apparatus is cooled down enough now, so I can disassemble things. So we'll remove our stopper, shut off our nitrogen flow. Take a Kim wipe here and clean the grease out of this joint. And we'll go over to where I've got the funnel set up for filtration. We're going to add, this is about 20 milliliters of hexane, so we're going to add not quite all of this, save a little bit for washing. Give that a little bit of a swirl here. We're going to take this now and get it into our funnel here to filter off. Not much better. There's a little bit more of this hexane in here. Should wash it from our flask as best we can. That worked pretty good. One more little dose of hexane here. There we go. Got it washed from our flask. We can take our spatula here and kind of push this around. Got some nice yellow crystals there, but they're a little bit dark, kind of got some black to them, so we're going to recrystallize. All right, the yellow crystals have had time to dry on the funnel, so we can turn off our vacuum, take off our funnel here, and I'm just going to dump them out of the funnel into this little beaker here. Not quite all of it came off. Just get a little bit of a scrape there. Kind of gentle with it here. Still not quite got it all. There's some very fine compound in the bottom. This might be actually the metallic molybdenum that we're trying to get rid of. We'll see shortly. Alright, just put the funnel aside. Filtrate from the first round. Lamp up another filter flask here. Gonna need a larger one of those. Anyway, so we've got our solid here. So we'll add in, this is dichloromethane, DCM. We've got about 20 mils here. We only need about half of this, so I'll pour in. See it now. To dissolve our compound. Let me get set up to do the filtration, and I'll bring us back when this is fully dissolved and we're ready to filter and then recrystallize. Alright, we finally got that all dissolved. That actually took a little bit longer than I thought and quite a bit more DCM than I thought, another about 5 mils. Those crystals might just be really slow to dissolve, so be aware of that for your run. Now we'll filter this off. Oh yeah, look at the brown, kind of dark brown gray powder we've collected. All right. Let's go there. Use the DCM beaker, since the other one has residue from the pre-crystallization steps. We don't want to bring that into our clean stuff. Pour this off over here. It's already kind of starting to precipitate, so it was a pretty saturated solution. I've got here about 20 milliliters of hexanes. We can get more if we need it. We'll add that to precipitate out our molybdenum mesotyl tricarbonyl. Alright, so I've added another 5 milliliters or so of hexanes to this. And the solution's gone a bit green, but that's interesting. Something else staying in solution. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get our vacuum turned on here. Alright, so we've got our nice fluffy yellow powder here. That's our mesotyl carbon molybdenum tricarbonyl. Get that dry here on the filter, and then weighed and then transferred to a glove box, as this compound is somewhat air stable or air sensitive. So, and then another portion of the solid can also be collected if you evaporate off this filtrate here, which I won't show. That's not necessary for this, but that can be done to cover more compound. All right, and that concludes this lab.